Hello, hello. Come on in. Guys, remember as you come in, your camera does have to be on. That's the rule for any group, anybody, whenever with any of our staff members. Hello, hello, hello. Mastermind, are you joining us? A couple of other people this week I thought were joining us. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Pamela, have we met? You're muted. I don't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can't. Have we met?
Yes, we met like a month ago.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Are you tutoring with one of my staff members?
Yeah, Miss Sherry.
Got it. Do you work in a prison?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. You live
Mm-hmm.
in, I don't remember the state though.
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Gotcha. LM or LC? Which test?
A LI or LCSW.
Okay. Does this your state have two tests?
I'm not sure. So-
Is
no,
it a
it's only
clinical
one.
exam?
It's only
Okay.
one.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
then it's a clinical exam.
Yeah,
So
it's a
I'm from
medical.
Florida and we only had a clinical exam as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. So Crystal is LM, Gloria Mastermind, and Pamela are LI, and we'll see who joins us tonight. So there's a difference between, we're talking about supervision. There's definitely a difference between the role at an LM level and the role at the clinical level. Um, Most often, when I seek supervision, that is my last choice.
Supervision. Okay.
That is
Okay.
my last choice because the supervisor only has three roles. And I'll get into those in just a minute. But as we get started, talk to me about questions you've seen, questions I can help you with, things that you maybe don't understand of why you're struggling with the test.
I have a question, Doc. I'm just looking for it. Hi, how you doing
Okay,
today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
When you started, most of you, when you started graduate school, um, I took a clinical track. I told my supervisor at the time I had never any intention of ever being in administration. And that's the Peter principle says that's what's happened. If you're with the agency long enough, eventually you'll just be part of administration. We didn't learn anything about budgets at the master's level, did we? We didn't. And now suddenly you're like the program director and you're supposed to learn to know how to do a budget. Like, I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. And even at my LC level, while it's more clinical, there's some assumptions of things that you know. One of the things that I really learned and I really try to preach at the doctoral level, I learned at the doctoral level, is it is okay to make money. My master's level was I went to school in South Florida. I only had an LC. So it was very clear at my master's level, the goal was to go into private practice. So that was always my goal. I graduated and a few short years later, I went into private practice. In South Florida, there are 17,000 clinical social workers. I think there are 6 major social work schools in South Florida. So going into private practice isn't always what it's thought to be. And in my life, we went through the change of adding HMOs. When I first started, we didn't have HMOs. I know that sounds strange, but I was never taught to write treatment plans. You could lay on my couch forever, and all I had to do was say to your insurance companies that the client is getting better. That was it. And I think part of the problem, like many other agencies, is we get into management level and we haven't had any training. Is that fair to say? How many of you have worked at management level? If not, you probably will. Okay, so before I get into that, just ask me questions on anything in general, anything you have seen somewhere that maybe I can help you with. Remember, we're always going to follow the social work problem solving method. We assess, assess, assess. We get paid to be nosy, whether it's an individual. And remember, this is still independent. It's not direct practice, but it is definitely still it's indirect practice, and it's different than community. So community and supervision are two different parts of indirect practice. Master Ron, ask me a question.
So I'm actually trying to get on YouTube on this video because the question was on your video. Be quiet, Kiko. The question was on your video. I thought I screenshotted it, but I didn't. So I'm getting ready to pull it up now.
If you remember the question, I
don't.
probably remember it.
Okay, it was something about, it was a word, I started R, repulse. A therapist felt repulsion or something for a client. And, oh my goodness, come on. And he felt that for a client, and then it said, like, what do you do? Do you refer them? Do you talk about it in session? Do you go and discuss it, discuss countertransference? Anyway, the answer was to refer to a colleague. And I didn't understand at first, but you explained that if a client is like, if a therapist is feeling disgust, then you refer out to the colleague. And then you also mentioned that it would take too long to address the countertransference.
Okay, thank you. There are a couple of terms in a question that talk about, remember, everything we do is about the client. Everything we do. Okay. So if I have a client that my feelings are getting in the way, right? That's countertransference. So what does that mean?
Countertransference is, whatever the client is saying is triggering something in you.
Okay. So then with transference, what do I do?
With transference, if a client is experiencing transference, you address it with the client.
Got it. And if my feelings of countertransference are in the way, what do I do?
Seek supervision.
Got it. So there's a couple of terms. If it says that I am,
answer though, that wasn't the answer.
Hold on. Can I go there?
Yeah,
Hold on.
sure.
Okay. So if I talk about, and you use the word repulse, and remember every test question, they didn't put that in there by accident. That was in there for a reason. So markedly is one of the first reasons I talk about. Markedly means it's a really big deal. It means it is hugely noticeable. Okay, so if you see that term in the clinical exam, that means there's something about that person that is huge. That's the clinical definition of markedly.
Okay.
If I am repulsed by a client, that's my own stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
If I cannot sit in the room because the way they smell, they look, that's my own stuff. Should I feel that way?
I don't think it's
probably not. That's not okay, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. But the bottom line is, what's best for the client?
Okay. So
if I am repulsed by you, and Carl Rogers says what's coming out of my mouth should match my body.
That's congruence.
Okay. So if I'm repulsed by you, am I going to be congruent?
No.
Will the client know that there's something wrong in the room?
They will.
And the client will think it's them.
Okay, so
I'm the expert. I know everything. Look at me. I'm the expert. So
Okay.
that client is feeling my repulsion. He needs to see somebody else ASAP.
Gotcha. Okay. So that
The
that
word
was a
was
key indicator.
repulsed.
Okay.
Exactly. And markedly are key indicators.
Okay.
I think that as we talk, remember, every test question matters. Every question matters.
Hmm.
So whenever I see those additional words, they put it in there for a reason. Would you want to go see a doctor, a medical doctor that you felt you could feel in the room that he hated being there?
No. Mm-mm.
And you, no matter what he says, I can feel the tension in the room.
Hmm.
I'm not going to trust him. I'm not going to tell him anything. So what's best for the client is for that client to go see somebody else.
Okay.
Okay. But it doesn't mean that I'm still wrong, that every question is about the client.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did that question surprise you? Have you not seen a question like that before? Tell me
Yeah,
about it.
that was like my first time seeing that, and it did surprise me because I'm so used to, you know, seek supervision, but I totally missed that word.
Okay. So markedly is the clinical term, and that question about if it used repulse, that makes you want to puke, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Repulse.
I'm just saying. I oh yeah. When I was my undergrad, my first field placement, I little Susie social worker, and I was in the free clinic in Miami. The free clinic in Miami, and this is when HIV and AIDS was coming out. There were people that were so gross, so gross. Hadn't bathed, didn't have a place to sleep. They reeked of pee. There was a man that had no legs and he fell out of his wheelchair, and I had to help him back in his wheelchair. And I'm human. I'm human, and I was probably 20 at the time. I knew that after that internship that I never wanted to do that kind of social work. I went straight to my master's, because that is not what I wanted to do. I could not spend the rest of my life doing that. No way, no how. Okay. Other questions, guys? Pamela, everything is recorded, and everything I use, I'll give to you. I'm not the holder of secrets, I promise you. Everything I have. Um, Mastermind, do you have a test date coming up? Okay. So Mastermind, Jessica, and
The
Crystal are all testing
27th.
in the next
The
few weeks,
27th.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So do you guys have anything specific you want to ask me since you're testing so soon?
In regards to, I guess, like supervision, in these questions, we are to kind of like believe that we're the supervisor unless otherwise indicated.
It's a reading test. Okay. So sometimes it's measuring if you're the supervisor. Sometimes it's measuring, did the supervisor do the right thing? Remember, at the LCSW level, when you have countertransference, what do you do at the LC level?
You're going to speak to a peer.
Got it. Okay. Because the assumption is that you're the best, there's no one better than you, and you don't have a supervisor.
I'm
Okay.
just
But
wondering if it's going to differentiate that for at least for me because I'm the LC.
Your LC test, it's still a reading test.
Mhm.
It'll say to you, if you're a supervisor, if you're a clinical social worker, it will tell you. They're really not trying to trick you. Okay. So no assumptions. They're not trying to trick you. In general, though, I always want to remind you that the LC, please, and all of you, for the rest of your life, even after you've gotten all of your degrees and letters after your name, always, always, always remember your stuff is going to get in the way. It's always going to get in the way. And we're always going to seek supervision when I find a client that I like too much or that I don't like. It's real. We're human. That's life. Okay, so when it comes to how we run an agency, let's talk about X and Y leadership. Those are always on the test. You may not know, you may not have recognized them. They're X and Y management styles. Does that ring a bell to anybody? No? Never, ever, ever, ever? X leadership has been around forever and forever. X is considered the classical management style, and Y is considered Mayo's theory. Show you. Oh, image. Where's my image? There we go. I'm sharing my screen. Okay. X style, therapists hate. Business people hate. Ah, ah, ah. X style, it's very authoritarian, repressed style, tight control, no development. Come to work every day and put your widget in the widget hole and be happy. If you've ever worked for one of the major insurance companies and you're a provider or an HMO, they care about you being a cookie cutter. Sometimes you just check the box when it comes to the treatment goals because you click depression and CBT comes up and you click the box of how we treat. X it's called the authoritarian. It's the classical management style. It's been around forever and forever. That is how many agencies are run. That is how Volkswagen is run. That is how anybody work for a hospital where you're just a number? That's we all do it the same way. I talked to someone today and she works in a jail and she was talking about all they really care about is the numbers. Yeah, we prove how much we make by the numbers. It's not measured by success, but it's just measured by the numbers. So if I have an authoritarian manager, I come in, I see 6 clients a day, I click the box and follow the rules, all that paperwork, I check every box. No one asks me what I think. I hate my job, but I go up every day because usually I get paid pretty well. So X, therapists hate. Y is good for the staff. The staff has input. That matters is what the staff says. Okay, so the X, let me give you these. So the X management style, result driven, deadline driven, the inclusion of everything else, intolerant, issues, demands, ultimatums, they're aloof, they're arrogant. Your notes have to be in by the 30th of the month if we're billing Medicaid, don't they? Any states? Yes. Usually at the end of the month, I have clients that cancel on me because they're behind on their notes. None of you guys have ever done that at home, right? Never. Okay. So that is the X style. Short tempered, they shout at you, demands, never ask. Everything has to be done. You get an email saying this needs to be done by tomorrow, and it makes no sense sometimes, but we just do. The Y leadership style is called the Mayo theory. It's called the humanitarian theory. We like the Y theory. It is good for the staff. theory Y, it's called the humanitarian. We put people first. Okay. Can you give me some ideas of what that may look like? What would an agency look like where they actually put their staff first?
If if a staff member is maybe experiencing some things at home, they may refer them to EAP. Or if they're triggered, they may refer them, hey, go and speak to the supervisor and see how you can work through that.
Very good. Very good.
They're
Have you
also
ever?
concerned with like processing difficult things that happen as a whole, maybe
Mhm.
employment appreciation days, pizza parties.
Got it. I allow my staff to have input on decisions instead of just saying we will no longer see kids under the age of 16. I'm going to say to my staff, we're really not making any money off that population. What do you think we should do? And then all of the staff, remember, staff means everybody, not just clinicians. Staff means everybody, that everybody gets an input. Anybody ever worked a place like that where your opinion mattered?
Yeah, I did.
Where was that?
I don't even want to say their name, but yeah.
Okay. What kind of agency was it?
It was an agency that worked with the LGBTQ population. And
Okay.
I don't think it was an agency. I think it was more so the manager, her management style, because she came from somewhere else. So she brought it to the agency. Because when
Okay.
she went away, it stopped.
Okay. So the Y management style, my clinicians go, yay! Oh my gosh, we're so excited. We're finally heard. We're finally felt. It matters what we say. The problem with that, have you ever been in a meeting with a group of social workers? How long does it take to make a decision?
Oh my God. It takes like 7 of us to change a light bulb.
But
Oh, we got to process. What if the light bulb doesn't want to be changed? The light bulb has to need to be changed. What are our goals specifically for the light bulb? I want to choke some people when I'm in a therapy meeting or a meeting with all social workers. Anybody ever felt that way? I just want to choke you. Make a damn decision and get over it. Because we want to process everything. So while X is bad for the social workers, for the clinicians, Y is good for the clinicians, but it sucks for your clients. My client wants something. They've asked me something. And now I've got to go through 17,000 people. We've got to meet. We've got to discuss. We've got to do this. It's 3 years later before I have an answer. That is the Y. Well, it's EA for the social worker. Work doesn't get done. It reminds me of working for any kind of non-for-profit because I want all my people to come in and I want you all to share your feelings and what do you think is the best. And no, we don't have all day. So again, this is the humanitarian method by Mayo, and this is the X theory by it's classical. It doesn't have a name to it. Classical is the one that's been around forever and forever, and the Y theory is the one that we do. If we look at how Google, maybe I think it's Google, how they're run, that they call it the Z method. That's not a test question, but the Z method lets people just everybody has an in parent. You show up when it's good for you. Do what's good for you. If you've ever seen the Google offices, right? They have like sandbags. You can go sit in a sandbag if you need to get your juices flowing, all those things like that. Yeah, okay. Not in our agencies. The other one is my least favorite one, and that's called the bureaucratic method. So the bureaucratic leadership is you're on the totem pole and you have to go through the procedures to get everything done. I worked for the state of Georgia for way, way too many years. Okay. When you think of bureaucracy, you think of red tape. Gloria, you worked for a school system for a long time. What did bureaucracy feel like?
At the school system, it
Mhm.
felt we felt it in admissions, the bureaucracy of it.
Tell me what that
That
means.
um unfortunately just regarding race and the way things were processed or
Are you suggesting
consequences
there was
were
some
giving,
institutionalized racism that was built in the system?
100%.
And so children of lower socioeconomic status may have been treated differently?
Yes. Even in the IEPs, parents that didn't dominate the language, they were much more approached, I feel, um, authoritarian versus authoritative.
Just come in and sign the paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
So IEPs, and I've been on both sides of IEPs with my children. I've got three gifted children, so they had IEPs as well.
Hmm.
And my thought is, if you've ever been in an IEP meeting, there's 17 professionals in the room and the mom.
Right.
And for most of the clients, when I was the social worker, um, mom and dad, school did not bring pleasant memories. So
Mm-mm.
now I'm asking them to come to a place where many times they might have gone to school and it is already been uncomfortable being in the building. And
Right.
the IEP is it's supposed to be parent and child have say so, but not really. And
Mm-mm.
if you don't know what to say, if you don't know what to ask for,
Right.
then you've agreed to that for I don't know, 3 years, 1 year, whatever their IEP says.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
three
so
years.
in a bureaucracy, Gloria, did you have a lot of say so as the social worker?
No, I had more say so on the amount of DIS minutes I was thinking the student needed.
I'm
And
sorry, you're
if
gonna have
they
to
were,
translate that. DIS
oh,
is
that's the minutes that the district gives the student through the IEP. So
okay.
because I worked at a non-public school, then I needed to, as I got to know the student and going through their goals to see how much time they really needed in session with me. So I had a say so in that, and if they weren't reaching the goals, they needed maybe more time, maybe in the class or maybe outside of the class to help them, basically get through
Okay.
their day. So
Okay.
that's the say so I had in asking for more minutes. But other than that,
Okay.
I had no say so. Even when I
Thank
wanted to
you.
help the parents, I couldn't because I mean there was times where the which shouldn't have happened. There was times with the interpreter or the translator didn't show up and I was in a situation where I was interpreting and I couldn't put in my, opinion or
Mhm.
help the parent out, even though I wanted to, because then I was,
It's against the
um,
rules.
not staying in my lane. Yeah.
Got it. We don't find a lot of these in social work agencies. We find this when we're one of the very few social workers in an agency. And most often, then the person that is the boss is not of the same profession that I am. So, whether it's the principal, the school district, whether it's the sheriff, whether it is the hospital administrator, most often the people that are bosses don't come from our same discipline. So, they don't understand where we're coming from. And especially when you're new, it's really, really hard. when I very first started as a school social worker, the principal, which still happens, the principal wanted to know every time that I made a child abuse report. When I was 24, yes, I sure did, because I'm 24 and I don't have a social support system. I work in the school system, and the school system says this is what teachers do, this is what you do. And I did. As I got to be 50, 40, 50, 60, I learned I wasn't doing that. But a bureaucracy, this is your role, these are the rules. Anybody in a school system or a major system need to change a light bulb? Don't you dare do that by yourself. That's somebody else's job. Oh, don't you dare! Don't you dare! I have I worked at a college. I worked at college for many years, but I've always had a clinical office at my college. So I don't like the overhead lighting. Right? I want soft lights. I want soft lights. I want my office to feel clinical. I have had usually no problem with soft lights. I put it in as an order from Staples, and nobody really even notices. My last time I got moved to a new campus, and we have different leadership, and I put in for lighting, and I was told that we don't buy lighting. I've been here for 15 years at this point, and every other administration has approved my lighting. I had to do this whole background on why, as the professor of social work, that I prefer lighting. I'm not the regular professor, and I'm not their therapist. I'm still a teacher, but I'm not just a number. Anybody had anything similar? I'm sorry, my dogs need water. Okay, so
Gloria, you getting ready to test too?
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to call me back. They called me and they gave me a date of like May 12th. And I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
I was way too soon.
Okay. Cool.
So yeah, I'm getting ready in the next month or so.
Okay. Cool.
You too?
The 27th.
All right, fingers crossed.
I'm telling you, fingers
Let's
crossed.
do this.
Fingers crossed that I take the test because I'm thinking about pushing it
I
back.
know. You got this.
Thank you.
We're never gonna be ready.
Eh?
It's yeah, you got
Yeah,
it.
my test is Tuesday.
Oh wow.
Oh,
so
Yeah.
Who's
I'm
that,
hoping
Crystal?
that the weekends really introduce you to like new. That was Crystal, yes. Introduce you to new information,
mm-hmm.
because usually you'll say sometimes it'll say X and Y, sometimes it'll say bureaucratic leadership, but these are all the roles that you play in supervision because you run the office. So these are hopefully things that they're on the test always, and you might not have recognized them. Okay. So X and Y, and then the bureaucratic style. The bureaucratic style says when I wanted a new computer, best of all worlds, I could go to Best Buy and buy one for a couple of hundred and come back and be good. But when you work for the bureaucracy, you have to go up the chain of command. So I have to, put in a request to my boss, and then it would come back. And once he approved it, I had to go to IT. IT asked me what I want on a computer. I don't know. I wanted to start and play. I don't know. I'm not an IT person. So after like 3 months of figuring out, just tell me what I want, because I don't know what I want. We had a contract with Dale. So now it's 6 months later, and I finally get a computer when I could have just bought it for half the price across the street. That's the red tape. That's the bureaucracy. You're always going to see the chain of command. So when we talk about things that are out of our chain of command, right? So if you get a subpoena, and the question says you get a subpoena and you work for an agency, you better not call that attorney unless you go up to your supervisor first. Let your supervisor find out you called the attorney, right? The code of ethics says if I get a subpoena, This is what I do. But if the question starts off, I work in an agency, the rules are different. Does that make sense of how it works? So we're always looking at it's a reading test, but remember, so X, Y, and the bureaucratic level are the most often of the ones you're going to see. Let's talk about that money stuff. Right, we don't like that. The budget analysis. None of us like that, do we? Well, here's always the question. What does the board of directors do?
Approve funding, and they may, I guess, decide on like the agency's like mission statement.
Okay. So they will prove the mission statement, but they don't usually decide. The board of directors, their goal is to make sure the CEO doesn't take off with all the money. I know that sounds because you have all of these things. So does anybody sit on a board of any? You should. Any school, maybe where you went to school, any agency that you support, they're always looking for board members. It's free. I mean, you're not getting paid. They usually meet 2 or 3 times a year. There's usually a big fundraiser, but all they want is to have some outside approval from people in the community. So when I taught college, my board members were people that were where we placed our students or that would hire our students. So it was the people in the community. I had former students on the board. I had professors from other colleges on my board because it really is like a check and balance system to make sure that I do the right thing. Now, when I worked for my college, I had a budget. And bottom line is it had to be approved by the school system. But if I really thought we needed something, then I would go to the board and talk to the board about how we really needed this. So one of the things I really wanted as we left, I wanted the VR glasses. I think those are the coolest thing. I'm into technology, and those really talk about how we use with like phobias. And I wanted to teach my students how to do that. Of course, my board approved, but the school system said no because it's bureaucracy and they weren't spending that kind of money. I wanted two-way mirrors in my classroom. I wanted to be able to sit on the other side, right, and have people do counseling and then be able to look in. My board approved it, but there still wasn't enough money. The board members don't get paid. They show up twice a year for meetings, and you want people to give you input of what's happening in the community. Especially as a college professor, I was definitely insulated in my little world, but I needed to know where I was teaching students, preparing students for the real world. So that's really what they do. They don't have a lot of, they don't have any value. No, I mean, they don't have any opinion. They don't have a say so. Has anybody met their board? Do you know who's on your board of directors?
I have. I actually went to one of the meetings.
Okay. Were you trying to be seen?
I was interested in macro practice, and I knew that that was part of like of being a part of the bigger picture. So I got to do
Okay.
some. I got to see some of the reporting and the reports.
Okay. 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 I had a student during her internship, and it was the agency was a homeless shelter for women and children. And when I went to do the site visit, I live in Chattanooga. Chattanooga, so America's 14% Black. Chattanooga is about 24% Black. So the Black population is a little bit larger. And when I went to do the site visit, I said to her, why are there no Black moms here? That's strange. It's a homeless shelter. Why are there no Black moms here? And she was an intern at the time. And when you're an intern, you're just trying to not rock the boat, right? But I was very curious. So I approached one of the board members and I said, so what is your process like? How do you decide there was a waiting list. How do you decide who you let in and who you don't? And the CEO, the director of the agency, was colorblind, we'll say that. and did not make any effort to make sure that her agency looked like the community. So that's what the board would do, is bring something to the board to say, hey, this is what I'm noticing, what's going on here. Okay, let's talk about those terms. When I get a budget, and I know none of us ever, we all hate that. When I get a budget as an agency, what does that mean? And what does that look like?
A budget of a agency or organization, basically like all the items that they're going to need to spend their money on.
Okay.
And then they have like an itemized list, and that they normally get some funds from either the state or some type of government funding, and that they're only supposed to use that money for those particular items. They have to uh, um like not verify, but they have to account for the money that they're using for the items that they stated that they're going to spend it on.
Okay. We have above the line and below the line. Do those things sound familiar?
Yes.
You know what that means?
Um, you have a certain amount of, I guess you have like this says you have $100,000, the minimum, but then they give you like a threshold like 2,000, but you
Okay.
can't like really go over it. You have to have some type of explanation of why you needed to go over that. I guess those use those extra funds.
Okay. Okay. So good, very good, very good, very good. So most often we come in with a budget. Social work agencies are known for being ho, fair. We're known for not having a lot of money. So the goal is money comes either from the federal government, state government, or it may come from right. I did not copy like I wanted to. So money may come from the federal government. It may come from state government. It may come from grants. It may come from public donations, fundraisers. Money comes in different ways. So one of the things when people choose to work for a nonprofit or they choose to work for state funded is because they can decide what to do with the money. If I run a nonprofit and we are funded by our local church, I don't have to follow any state guidelines. If I take federal dollars or state dollars, then I have to follow federal guidelines. So money comes in. There's hard money and soft money. What's the difference?
Hard money from the government, soft money from like churches or private donations.
Got it. We used to think there was hard money from the government, but I don't know about that now.
Yeah, yeah. But you can take fundings from because you just mentioned that if you take money from the government, then there are certain stipulations that are in place.
Got it.
So then if you take money from the government, then you also take from the well, not private, from private donations, then you kind of like how can you like balance that?
You have to decide that as the manager or the supervisor of the agency. You have to decide that. Okay. So
But
then
you can't take both of them at the same time.
yes, you can.
Oh,
We take money from everywhere. Do you guys know where you work now? How is it funded? Pam, what do you do?
And a provisional mental health. So
And who do you work for?
for the state of Nebraska.
Okay.
Mhm.
And how is it funded?
By the state.
Okay. No federal dollars, just state
Mhm.
dollars.
State dollars.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I ask you that because before, and there are no questions on this current administration, there's no questions on that. But we always thought forever there were lots of federal dollars, but in the change in the current government, he's pulled back federal dollars. And now sometimes, no, the state dollars have to make up for what we didn't have. Okay, so if you get state dollars, can you decide who you're going to see and who you're not going to see?
No.
There's a criterion for your program, but you have to follow the state laws, meaning I won't discriminate. I'm going to see LGBTQIA. I see everybody because the funding requires that. If you're in private funding, if you're in especially church funding, you can say, we don't want to see LGBTQIA, depending on where your funding source comes from. Okay. So most of us go to work every day and we don't understand where it comes from. If you ever worked on a grant funded program, that's soft money. Soft money, we used to be able to depend on, it would always be there, but there's no guarantee at this point. For the test, though, soft money is grant money. Hard money is federal or state dollars. Okay. When you're looking at your budget as the supervisor, the administration of the agency, you're looking at things where are the dollars going? Salaries, benefits, rent, utilities, supplies, travel, and equipment. So you talked about line item. Line item means that if I've got a budget, that everything has to fit in the line. So when I was teaching college, especially during the years of COVID, I had money in the college budget to hire new people. We couldn't hire new people because we were in the middle of COVID. So line item meant that money went back to the source. Because in that line, that money was only available for that particular income, that particular thing. So many times, if you get dollars through a grant, grants are very, very specific about where you spend the money. Okay. Can you spend your rent money on a new Gucci purse?
Not supposed to.
Okay. And now we're talking with somebody else's money. So I've got to be very careful. If it's only meant for salaries and I didn't hire anybody else, I cannot put that money someplace else. The person that gave me the money is going to reabsorb it back into their budget. If I have a line item budget, it has to stay in that line. There are some fixed items, right? My rent, utilities, things like that are fixed. But the goal is it has to stay in the line. I don't know why they ever trust any social workers to ever be an office manager or run a program. We know nothing about money. We are not numbers people. But the assumption for the test is some point you will be that. You will be there. Okay. So when it talks about how I spent my money and did it work out, that's going to be my cost benefit and my cost analysis. The goal is, the assumption is that social work agencies are not, we don't make money. Even if we're a for-profit agency, we're not known to make money. So when it comes to where that money comes from, at the end of the day, there's a ratio and then there's analysis. The ratio is how much money did I give you and what did you do with the money and how can you prove the money? The ratio is for every $10 you saved 20 girls from getting pregnant. The ratio is for every, I gave you money to hire new staff. So for every staff member you hired, you decrease the caseload. So the ratio is dollar for dollar or dollar for people. Right? Then we'll go back to make sure we understand where we're at. These are both LC and LM questions, and this is the part that everybody hates. We all want to be clinicians, and we don't want to understand how this works. So what I said to you when it comes to our budget, many times there are line items, things that have to stay in the line. I cannot spend them anyplace else because that's where they're supposed to go. When I worked for the state of Georgia, I had an amount that I could use for travel to get my CUs to continue. If I didn't use that travel dollar in the fiscal year, then the money went back to the state. And if I didn't use the money, then they assumed I didn't need it. So next year's budget wouldn't include it. Okay. So when it comes to how we do ratios, we're looking at how we spent the money. For every $10 you gave me, I was able to hire 3 new therapists. For every $10 you gave me, I was able to buy 10 new rape assessment kits. That's the ratio, talking about the money you gave me and how it showed up. Your program budget is, again, we're always trying to be efficient with our money. How much does the program cost? But at the end of the day, whether it's state or federal or grant monies, somebody's going to want to know, how did you spend the money? If you get a grant that has no follow-up, be so thankful. We've got a couple of grants that had no follow-up. None at all. No, they just had money to give. I'll take it. Thank you very much. Right. Performance-based budget is now I'm looking at the outcome. So the money we gave you, how did you serve the clients? Can you prove it to me? And we are social workers and we're touchy-feely and we don't like to come up with numbers. But if you're ever working with an agency or anything else, you're always making sure, where do those dollars go? Has anybody ever written and won a grant or worked under grants?
Yeah.
Mastermind, tell us about it if you don't mind.
What you want to know, Doc?
How did it work? And I want to how we apply it to the test.
I was a case manager, and there was a grant given for a case manager, and there was a specific amount that I was able to be paid.
Okay.
And
who wrote the grant? How did your agency get the grant?
The director wrote it.
Okay. That one said for a second. There's a question many times that talks about when sometimes it's called what's it called? Proposal. It's a proposal for money, a proposal when before you submit the proposal, the first thing you always do is read the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said something. What's it called sometimes? It's RFP, proposal for RFT. Yes, you're gonna submit the proposal for that money. The first thing you always do, like everything else we do, is we assess. We're gonna make sure we qualify for the grant. Okay, keep going. So now you got your agency got this grant,
Mm-hmm.
and did it come with rules?
Yeah. We had to serve, first it was for the LGBT population, but then um, the grant, it kind of leaned more towards, more of the money went for the transgender women.
Okay.
So a lot of the question in the agency was, why is the transgender women getting so many services and programs? Because that's what the grant said. It was a
Okay.
budget that we had to spend on the transgender women. Um, and then at the end, we had to, like, I had to write up the different things that I did with case management, how I did outreach. I had to write that up, and that would be called. It's not a formative, Doc. It's on the tip of my tongue. The summative, right?
The summative is the end and the formative is in the beginning.
Beginning.
Yes.
So that's how the grant went.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So when you see formative and summative on the test, you know what it means.
Yes, I do.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Just some definitions. Again, you will see a couple of these guys no matter what test you're taking. And I know everybody hates this stuff. I do. I do. I do. But it's still part. Remember, if we don't do the supervision, if we don't do run the agency, someone who is not in our area, in our expertise, will come in and do it. Okay. So do you see the terms? Line item is your specific category. Your key idea is accountability. If it's a program, the focus is services, cost per program. Zero base, that's what my count looks like sometimes. What it really means is if I'm starting a new agency or if it's the end of my fiscal year. So when I worked for the school, when I worked for the state of Georgia, our fiscal year ended June 1st and didn't start again until August 1st. So that means if I needed anything between then, I had to order ahead because there was no money available because they were trying to consolidate the books. In my business, our calendar year ends May 1st and we start again June 1st. So if you've been following me for a bit, you'll see that if we change programs, if we change prices, it's always going to happen after on June 1st.
I have something to say, Doc. With the grant that I was on, I always wondered too why they would send me out of state so much. I mean, I was going everywhere. They didn't require me to report back what I learned, nothing. But I learned later that they had to spend that money up or they was gonna have to get it back, like give
There
it back.
must have been travel. Exactly. There must have been travel money that you had to spend it.
Yeah, I'm glad they had it
Or
too.
training money. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's look at a couple of these terms. An agency lists expenses as salary, rent, utilities, and supplies with a signed dollar. This is best described as what? The program budget, the performance budget, the line item budget, or zero-based budget. Anybody? If they're listed as the rent, utilities, supplies, I got some money, so it's not zero based.
It's the line item budget.
Line item, absolutely. They have to be spent in that line. Absolutely. Okay. Number two, a nonprofit must justify expenses from scratch each fiscal year. Okay. Incremental budgeting. Increment means it goes up by a little bit. Zero means I ain't got no money to start with. C is line item. And capital budgeting talks about how much money you have already. That's your capital. What can I take out?
Well, we just did line item, so we could take that out.
Okay, good.
Doc, what did you say capital budgeting is again?
Capital is how much you have, whether it's money or property or expenses, that's your capital.
So could we
That's
eliminate capital?
we can.
And
It's a reading test. Go back to my question. What is it asking me?
um, well, you just talked about
Every
you just talked about the base budget. You already explained that, so that's the answer.
It is. Every year I start over. I have no money every year. I have to spend the money and hope that I get the same amount of money next year. Okay. I know that you guys have seen similar questions. You usually just ignore them. Am I wrong? Dr. Pam, you've just made this up. They're never on a social work exam.
I've never seen any of these except like when I was in my macro practice class. Um, so it's been far, far removed from anything that I've seen, and even other like supervision stuff. I haven't seen this. I saw like the Hawthorne effect and all that other stuff, but maybe I didn't see this there.
Okay.
I
This
remember
is
a little bit
budgeting.
of this in my budget class. It's starting to like come back, but I had this like in my budget class, budget class that I took.
So the assumption is that the LM or the LC is that you run either your own business or you run an agency. So you're going to see these type of questions. Okay. Okay. Number 3, a funder requires proof that services improved client outcomes before renewing funding. What is
Performance-based
this?
budgeting.
What are you suggesting? It's a reading test?
Yes, it is.
Very good. Very
Sorry,
good.
I have to
Very
leave.
good.
I just wanted to get an answer in.
Okay. So I just wanted to give you some basics of those things that you'll see on the test. Cost benefit, cost analysis, what it looks like. Okay. There are 3 roles of supervision. What are those 3 roles?
One is supportive, one is administrative, and I forget
One
the
is
other
to
one.
educate.
Yeah,
Okay.
educated.
So what role was this that we just talked about?
Administrative.
Got it. Got it. How I run the agency. Okay. Um, I own a business. It's important that my staff gets paid. And I can tell you as a personal business owner, there have been times that I didn't have enough money to get paid, but my staff will always be paid. Okay, so those are the 3 roles. So administrative role, and that is the rules, how we operate, how the bills get paid. Okay, are you doing your job correctly? If there's a question about who gets the next case, right? That's what we talk about. I don't want that picture. Okay, are you doing your job correctly? That means if a client, a supervisee is coming to me and I'm trying to help them, that is my goal. Okay. Emotional support, what is that about? Do I really care about my therapist?
You should, because that helps improve client outcomes.
That's the bottom line. It's about the client. You may have had in your past lives where you were friends or buddies with your supervisor. You might have known them before, but for the test, you're not friends, you're not buddies, you're not pals. It's the same as the relationship that you have with your clients. So you shouldn't feel pressured to invite your supervisor to your wedding. Okay. And I understand because social workers, we just have these, oh, we love everybody, right? Oh, we love everybody. No, we can't be doing that. For the test, that's not what we do. The three roles are: one, the administrative role, and that's making sure that everything gets taken care of. Two is about the importance of the therapeutic alliance with the client. If counter transference is getting in the way, I always make sure it's what's best for the client. And the last one is teaching you. Put that in there. I've skipped one. So if suddenly we have a lot of borderlines in our office, I'm going to make sure you know how we treat borderlines. Those are the three roles of supervision. If there's ever a question that says I'm an intern or I'm new, you always, always, always get to seek supervision. Other than that, you are the very best, and seeking supervision is the very last thing to do. Talk to me about ethical dilemmas. What are the steps of solving an ethical dilemma?
You can consult with your colleague if there's a ethical dilemma.
Do I need to?
You should go to them first before
Do I
you.
no? If there's a issue with my colleague, I would. But what if there's something coming up that I'm just not sure what to do?
Then you will consult supervision.
You do not. You do not. It used to be that way, but it's not that way anymore. So you do not need supervision. Has anybody had an ethical dilemma in your agency where you weren't sure what to do? You have. You just didn't realize it. I always share this story. I was in private practice for quite a bit. I'm all of like 28 now. I'm 28. I know everything. I was a primary provider for Cigna. So I'm making buku bucks, and I'm working in an office. We take Cigna providers, and my boss is an LMFT, and they think differently than we do. I get a crisis call. The client comes in, and he's male, and he is suicidal because his boyfriend just dumped him, and he is suicidal. So we bring him in. I see him. Okay, insurance company covers it. At the end of the session, I go to walk him out. As he leaves, the male secretary says to me, I'm the reason that your guy is upset. My male secretary is the new boyfriend of my client. My client, it comes in, he's upset because his relationship ended. And my male secretary is the third person. What do I do, guys? Come, I use this in class all the time. What do you think I should have done?
You don't say anything to the client or the secretary.
Anybody else? Pamela?
Same thing. You don't say anything, I guess.
I wasn't worried about me saying anything. I'm
Oh.
not going to say anything. That wasn't my worry.
Mm-hmm.
If my client found out who the guy was, would he have thought that I knew? And I ain't gonna lie to you. If that was my uh my partner's ex, I'd be reading on them files all day long. I know it's unethical, but I'm human. I'd be like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, what? I'm human. I went to my LMFT supervisor and I said, let's refer him out. Let's refer, I only met him once and it was a crisis. Let's just say that my caseload is full and I don't want to see him anymore. It was a really, really big deal. She's an LMFT and we have different versions, and she was also about making the money. My thought, I've only seen me once. Why take that chance? Just send him out to somebody else. My supervisor did not agree. Right? So the steps of ethical decision making do not include supervision. So if you've ever had an ethical dilemma, it used to include supervision, but it does not anymore. Is anybody else brave enough to share an ethical decision?
We say ethical decision or ethical situation.
Either way, where you had to make a decision, you had to decide what to do.
I didn't make a decision, but I know sometimes the workers they would look up let's just say that their boyfriend cheated on this girl and there were some allegations that she might have abused or neglect case. So they would look that person up in the system. Or they would do something for their girlfriends or something like that. See if there's, a case on the such and such, or just see if I got a case. They would, do stuff like that, which is unethical because they aren't supposed to do that.
Why is it unethical?
Because looking up those cases is only for the clients that you're supposed to be serving and that you're doing it for your own personal usage.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. It's the same reason that I can't be friends with you on Facebook. We always think it's about us. It's not about us. It's about I don't have a right to violate my client's privacy. So when there's an ethical decision, first of all, what I'm going to do first is go to the code of ethics. Which ethical what ethical issue is at hand? Is it my stuff or is it actually a code of ethics? So with that client, my biggest issue is I thought he wouldn't trust me. If he found out, he would not trust me. He was in crisis. And I thought that I couldn't have a therapeutic relationship with him if I wasn't honest, right? Part of our ethics is I can't lie to you. I've got to be honest. So my thought is it was better for everybody for him just to not come back to my office. So identify the key values and principles, which code of ethics is violated. For example, is it confidentiality? Is it secrecy? Is it a third party issue? Now I'm going to rank the values. I'm going to talk about what's the most important thing. If I were the only therapist in this 25-mile radius, it'd be okay. But I was living in Fort Lauderdale. There are 37,000 million therapists. When I ranked it, if I were in a rural area, I might have made a different choice, but I wasn't. There were lots of other people he could see. Then you make your plan, your action plan. My plan was I wasn't going to tell him why I couldn't see him. We only met once. We met once in the middle of a crisis. And to say to him, right now, I'm not a good fit for you, would have been fine. You do the plan, implement the plan, and then you reflect. You come back and you make sure it's working out for the client. Nowhere, no how does it ever say seek supervision. It did used to say that. If you had an old supervisor, if you're using old study material, it did used to say seek supervision. It does not any longer. You do not need supervision for an ethical decision.
Now, if you have a client that you've been seeing on an ongoing basis, and then this situation, you know, came up, you would still follow these same procedures too?
I probably would go back, I would start over. And if I'd been seeing him for a long time, we had a therapeutic relationship, he trusted me, I would probably just tell him
Tell them what, Doc?
that, hey, you know what? There is an issue. I've been seeing him for 6 or 7 months. A member of our staff may have a relationship with your ex.
Okay.
Because I know him. There's a very big difference when I've had a therapeutic relationship and when there's the first session.
Okay.
So if a client comes in and it's their first session and it's always a question, they're anorexic and it's out of your scope. If it's the first session, what do?
You're assessing in the first session.
If it's out of my scope,
Audio scope, you refer? You refer?
absolutely. But if I've been seeing them for 12 sessions and it's out of my scope, what do I do then? I seek
Oh, you see.
supervision
Yeah.
because we already have a relationship.
And when you seek supervision, do it have to be so like if it's an eating disorder, you seek supervision from a specialist, somebody that's specialized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not from my colleague because they know less than I do. Unless it's a rule situation. No, even though then, no. So the rule situation may say they may not be a social worker. So if I'm in a rural area and I'm the only social worker, when I seek supervision, it may be the nurse, the doctor, whatever. The assumption is I'm the very, very best. I do not need another social worker. She knows less than I do. I'm the very, very best. Okay.
I'm sorry, who you go to again? If when there's no supervision, when you are the supervisor?
So if you're the supervisor, you're not seeing clients. If you're the supervisor, the assumption is you're not seeing clients. If it's your supervisee, then you are going to work with them. Okay. But the goal is if it's a new client that you've never seen before and it's out of my scope of practice, I am not going to see them. If it's a recurring client and now something's come up, I've been seeing them for all this time, and now they tell me they're unsure of their gender. They've got gender dysphoria. I'm not going to get rid of him. They've been seeing me forever. If I give them to somebody else, they're going to think that, oh, Dr. Pam doesn't like me. I'm going to keep them. And really then seek supervision to figure out. When you see those test questions, read a book, read an article. Ain't none of y'all read a book since y'all had to. That is never the right answer. Never, ever the right answer. Take a class. No. Okay, let's look at some questions. Pamela, do you see number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I'll do this one first. When you're with me, we're always going to read the question first, understand the question before we look at the 4 choices. A supervisee begins to express frustration toward the supervisor that closely mirrors the frustration the supervisee reports from a client session earlier that day. The supervisor recognizes this pattern as what? What did that question even say? I am the supervisee, right? And now I'm the person that needs help, supervisee. And I tell my supervisor, oh my gosh, this client came in today and blah, 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 blah. And the supervisee reports, that's a pattern. Maybe I've seen that before. It's the same frustration that I felt toward my client that I feel toward you. Okay. Countertransference, parallel process, internalization, or compliance. Parallel process means that my supervisor and I are going through the same process. Countertransference is when my feelings got in the way. Internalization means it was about me, and compliance means I just follow the rules. So the supervisee begins to express patterns for the supervisor that mirror the same frustration. That's called parallel process. Parallel process would be I'm pregnant and my supervisor is pregnant. I'm going through a divorce and my supervisor is going through a divorce. If it's your supervisor, it's never going to be countertransference. We're just going through the same thing at the same time. That's both an LM and an LC question. Okay. Number 2, I didn't talk about these powers. So when you're in an agency, there are inherent powers. The expert power is I'm the grant writer. They ain't gonna fire me because I'm the grant writer. They need me. I'm the expert. Legitimate power is the one who legitimately has the title and they're good at what they do. The reference power is because I know somebody. I'll say this out loud and it's going to be awful. My daughter doesn't work for me anymore. She's worked for me for many years that I've owned the business. And she had power because she was my kid. She didn't have expert power. She didn't have legitimate power, but because she was my kid, she had power. Okay. Functional power is not a term. So answer this question for me, Mastermind.
All right, so we can get rid of A, functional power,
Okay.
supervisor authority that exists solely because of the role they occupy. Okay, they're not expert power either. We can get rid of that. I would say the answer is legitimate power
Tell me why.
because it's power based on the position that you have.
Got it. Got it. Very good. Because my name says blah, 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 CEO after my name. Okay. Very good. Pamela, take this one.
No.
Come on, you got this.
All right. It says a supervisor with a strong interpersonal warmth, concern for staff well-being, and attention to moral is demonstrating which leadership dimension? No, it's not where I'm concerned. I don't know.
Say, we don't get to say I don't know. Stay in my question. What's it asking me?
Okay, it's okay, leadership dimension. So
Okay. and I have this, the supervisor has a strong interpersonal warmth. What does that mean?
The type of leadership is the one that we learned before, the why?
So interpersonal just
Oh, okay,
means
interpersonal.
I work well with other people. That's all that means,
Mhm.
right? Interpersonal means with other people. I'm really caring about my staff, right? And I pay attention to the morale. I want the place that they come to work every day to be a
Mhm.
warm, fuzzy place. You got that?
Mhm.
Okay. What is not my answer? What can I rule out?
Initiating structure. B.
Okay. Okay. So I did just I don't see, do I see structure in the question?
Okay, the next one will be management by objectives.
What does that mean?
Don't know, but it doesn't sound to me.
So management by objectives just means I don't care about you. This is what we have to do. We have to see 27 people this week. We have to do blah, blah, blah this week. I could care less about how you feel, how you think. We are just going to do what we have to do. Right?
Okay.
So I'm going to take that out too. Now, in between, instrumental leadership means I follow the rules. I do exactly what I'm supposed to do. You're between A and C.
Okay. I'll say consideration.
You will. You will. You're always going to have terms that you have no idea what they're talking about. Always, always, always. That's just part of the test. As much as I teach you, there are always going to be things that you just don't know. Okay? Okay, 1 second. Okay, so again, I went over, can someone remind me, what are the 3 roles of the supervisor?
3 roles of supervisors: administrative, supportive role, and educate.
Got it, got it. When it's countertransference, what am I supposed to do? If I'm the supervisor, what do I do?
Consult a peer.
If I'm the supervisor and my client comes to me and they're having I've got feelings for my current client. I think I keep seeing them more than I should. That I'm gonna because I'm many times the supervisor, so I'm gonna say, hey, let's look at different ways we can do, or I'm gonna do what's best for the client. I may refer them out, but not until we've gone through the processes first. Okay. Okay. 1 second. That's great questions I wanted to ask today. Those of you who've taken the test before, tell me questions you've seen about supervision.
I saw the XY theory on the test.
Okay.
Was that on for the LM or for the LC?
LC.
LC.
They're on both, though.
Oh,
The assumption is, so the LC is more clinical. The assumption is that the LM is that at some point you will be the supervisor and you have to know exactly what you're supposed to do when you're the supervisor. Whether you like it or not, whether you plan to be there or not, you will be the supervisor. So I guess I'm closing out windows. Okay. Who'd like this one? If you've seen it before, I don't mind if you take it again, as long as you can tell me why. Thanks, Pamela. I love it when you volunteer. Read my question.
A social work administrator is having trouble finding a group home manager for a new program scheduled to open in 2 weeks. Further delays in locating staff will delay clients from moving into the program. The administrator temporarily hires her niece, who just graduated with a social work degree, for this position. This action is...
Okay, stay in my question first. Tell me what's happening.
All right. It says that the administrator has problems with her group home. So, so she just opened in 2 weeks. So, and then she needs to hire somebody, and she puts somebody, her niece, temporarily, who just graduated from social work degree. So this action is ethical because the niece is clearly qualified. No. And
read all four before I rule out. Read all four.
All right. So
A, ethical because the niece is clearly qualified. B, unethical because the conflict of interest. C, unethical because the position is temporary and ensures clients that the service get the services needed. And D, unethical because clients will experience staff turnover when a new manager is hired. Let's rule out what is no way, no how the answer.
I'll say ethical because the niece is clearly qualified for the position.
Okay,
she just graduated.
Okay, good.
Ethical because the position is temporary and ensures clients get the service needed.
So now you're between B and D. You're going to compare the two to each other and go back to the question.
All right. So should I read the whole thing again?
No, in your head, you've got to prove to me, or that's how you pass the test. How do I know what's the best answer?
Uh, I'll say I'll say unethical because clients will experience a staff turnover when a new manager is hired.
And why did you pick that one over B?
I could, between B and D,
Mhm.
because
What is my conflict of interest?
that's her niece. And
Right.
she just graduated from a social work degree.
So what I did, what was best for me or my agency, I didn't hire the best person.
Mm-hmm.
I hired someone that was easy. So that's a conflict of interest.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody good with that? So how she got there?
So the conflict of interest, you said I hired somebody that was easy, so it's a conflict of interest, meaning that the director, whoever the administrator, is going to benefit from having.
Ding, ding, ding. Absolutely. 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 Thank you, Pamela. Mastermind, take this one.
Which of the following is not an essential step in the ethical problem solving? Identifying the ethical standards that may be compromised, determining whether there is an ethical dilemma, weighing ethical issues in light of social work values and principles, asking a supervisor to monitor practice to identify new ethical issues or dilemmas. Which one is not? So I'm gonna cross out the ones that is. So A, cross A out. So we have to identify first. And then you can cross out B because we have to determine. All right. So now between C and D. Weighing ethical issues in light of social work values and principles, or asking a supervisor to monitor practice to identify new ethical issues or dilemmas. So it's D. The answer is D.
That's what I do not do. I do not need supervision. You'll see a lot of those questions because there was a time that we did, but we do not anymore. Okay. Crystal, you're still with me?
Yes.
This one.
Okay. An agency that employs social workers had detailed job descriptions that delineate the best way to perform functions. Closely supervises its employees. It ties employee pay increase to behaviors that promote the goals of the organization. This agency is this agency is most likely using which of the following approaches to manage its workers?
Say my question first. Tell me what it's asking me.
So they employ these social workers. Uh, um, they need social workers that have job descriptions that align to the perform functions that they would like for them to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, closely supervises is closely supervises its employees and ties employees to pay increase to behaviors that promote and go up organization. I don't know what that sentence means. This agency is most likely using which of the following approaches to manage its workers. I know the first part of the sentence, the first part of the sentence me, but then the second part I'm not understanding. Closely supervise its employees and ties employees' pay increase to behaviors that promote the goal of the organization. So is it basically saying that I'll pay you you get an increase if you meet the goals objectives?
I think that's what it says, right? So remember, we talked about X and Y. A is X, B is Y, C is systems. Everything affects everything else. And D is my contingency plan. D is the backup plan. So what happens if A and this is what I thought was going to happen, it doesn't happen? That is my backup plan. Okay, so this is what it would look like in a question about the X and Y leadership.
It would be
Stay in
a,
my question.
oh, okay. Um, scientific management, human relations, systems, and contingency.
And how do I know?
That is scientific management.
Yeah. What words puts me in a question?
They're talking about preferred functions that aligns with the organization's objectives or
Did you
goals.
put your widgets in the widget hole? Absolutely. That's all that
You
matters.
put your widgets in the widget hole.
Yeah, do you know? Okay, widgets are that's just a idiom. So did you follow directions? That's all it means. Did you follow
Oh,
directions?
never heard of that before.
Does the round square, does the round bottom go in the round hole? Don't you dare follow, you have to follow the rules. That's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Gloria?
Yeah.
Okay. So a social worker does not agree with the supervisor's directive. The social worker should. So the social worker is not agreeing with something the supervisor's telling them to do. So the social worker should obtain feedback from colleagues to see if the social worker's assessment is valid, speak to the supervisor about the concerns, meet with the agency director to make him or her aware of the disagreement, or respect the supervisor's position and comply with the directive. Mm,
This is
I'm gonna
a code of ethics question.
not agree with the supervisor's director. I don't think I'm going to meet with the agency director to make him or her aware of the disagreement.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if I should obtain feedback from colleagues to see if the social worker's assessment is valid.
Girl, you
Um,
know what happened? This is what I think. And I went to the boss and they said this, and this.
yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I think A out.
If I have a
Um,
problem with a coworker, even if it's my boss, what do I do?
I go directly to my colleague or my, so in this one, it's B, speak to the supervisor about the concern.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Very good. These are the types of power in an agency. Back to you, Mastermind.
What type of power is obtained by associating with others who have power? There's only three choices here, Doc.
It is.
Okay.
I'm not sorry. No, there's four. Sorry. I apologize.
Reward, legitimate. Okay. What type of power is obtained by associating with others who have power? Well, we know it's not legitimate power.
Okay.
I don't think it's reward. I didn't even see that.
What is reward power?
Oh, it is such thing as reward power.
It is. You know what that means?
No, but that may be the answer there.
So reward power is if you do what I tell you to do, there's something in it good for you.
Okay, so it's not that.
That's almost like coercive power. I've got I've got power over you because, I'll fire you, I'll reward you if you do the right thing.
Okay, so it's not cohesive. It's not. So it's D. Is it referent? Referent.
You go back to my question, you tell me.
Let's see. What type of power is obtained by associating with others who have power? It's not reward. It's not legitimate. It's not cohesive. You said is you do what I tell you to do.
I put my thumb on your head.
Yeah, it's not. So it would be D.
It would. Do you know what that means?
Um, like you said, getting power by hanging with others who have power. Is that
Absolutely. Oh, you know what?
She just provide
We
the
in the
example.
same sorority, girl. We Soros, right? You
yeah?
may not know anything, but I promote you because of our relationship.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Pam, you also used the example of your daughter. She was a referent. It was referent power because she worked um with you, right?
Yeah, yeah, she sure did.
Are you suggesting that I taught you something that you just could have? Is that what you're telling me? That maybe I. Okay. Okay, let's get a couple more questions in. Again, this is about supervision and the role of the supervisor. If you're an intern, you can always seek supervision. Always, always, always. Okay. If you're not, the assumption is you are the very best, and we do not need supervision.
And then again, if you're the very best and you need help with something, you go to your,
What would you need help with?
oh, well, I guess if it's something out of my league, then I will refer.
Okay, so then it depends. If it's the first session and it's out of my scope, then I'm going to refer immediately. But if I've been seeing you for a long time and something comes up out of my scope, I'm not necessarily going to refer. I will seek supervision. The answer is never to read a book. That is never the right answer. Ain't none of y'all read nothing. Not me too. We ain't none of my no. We don't. We no. Okay. Back to you, Pamela. You see this one?
Okay. A social worker sees that colleague is distracted when interacting with clients and is showing up for appointments late. The social worker learns that these behaviors began several weeks earlier after the death of her colleague's husband. In this instance, the social worker should.
Say my question. What's happening?
It says that one of the social workers says that one of her coworkers distracted when interacting with clients and is showing late to appointments, as it says. The social worker also learns that this behavior is began several weeks earlier after the death. Okay. So the colleague's husband passed away. That's what happened, right?
Yeah, yes.
All right. So she's on depression, probably. In this instance, the social worker should give the colleague additional time to grieve and monitor the colleague's actions to see if the behavior subsides on its own. Speak to a supervisor to see if the colleague's workload could be reduced for a period of time. Contact the Human Resources Department to see if there is an employee assistance service available. I think I will cross that.
Taken out. See?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Speak to the colleague directly about the observations to see if additional assistance is needed.
Okay, so you're down to D, and what else?
Say I'll speak to a supervisor to see if the colleague workload could be reduced for a period of time.
I'm taking that out. Okay.
Oh, and I would choose number D.
Very good. Very good. So what I'm looking for is I don't want to confront my colleague, right? I want to work with my colleague. I want to help you. I want to help you with professional courtesy, right? We've all had gone through some lot stuff in life, and I just want to help my colleague. Okay, good, good, good. Let me see here. Can you think of other questions where you've seen supervision? What I want you to make sure you understand is if you're new, you always seek supervision. If it's about countertransference and my feelings are in the way, I seek supervision. But in general, supervision, when I go through all the choices, I want to make sure I've done everything else first.
And the primary documentation is besides if it didn't happen, if it's not recorded or written, it didn't happen. But in terms of ethics, like what is the reason for documentation besides monitoring progress?
If it's an ethics questions about
The prom,
documentation,
yeah.
can you give me a question? Tell me more.
I
think
saw
I'm lost.
something. What is the primary reason to document? Oh no, what is the primary function of documentation in social work according to the NASW?
I'm looking for an answer that talks about something that's best for the client.
It didn't mention anything about client. It says
Do you
something.
remember your four choices? Do you remember what those were?
The choice that I had chosen was something about modern moderating or modern the progression of the treatment goal.
Okay, that's still about the client though, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's still about the client. So what we're looking for is always what's best for the client.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking at why did you get up and get dressed this morning? Because it was good for my client. There are no questions that are ever asked about what's best for you. This is an LC question. Most often, my LM doesn't get this much into theory. Any of my LCs want to take that one?
I'll take it. A therapeutic approach that views the client from a social context that sees behavior as derived from unconscious drives and motivations that views disorders and dysfunctions as emerging from internal conflicts and anxiety, and that seeks to facilitate the conscious awareness of previously repressed information. So this is asking me what therapeutic approach views a client in their social context and is mostly having to do with the unconscious motivations of certain dysfunctions and internal conflicts and anxiety that facilitate that conscious awareness. So the options are cognitive approach, psychoanalytic approach, gestalt approach, and behavioral approach. So it's not D, it's not behavioral approach.
That's rewards and consequences. Good.
And that's not cognitive approach.
CBT, changing the way that you think. Good.
And between B and C, it's B, psychoanalytic.
Ding, ding, ding. And what words in the question proved it to me?
The unconscious drives and motivations.
Got it. My unconscious drives are my id, right?
Mhm.
I want to eat, sleep, and procreate. Good, good, good.
And the gestalt is the here and now.
Gestalt is the unfinished business, the empty chair. He talks about feelings. He wants you to stay with the feelings so you can be
Stay
a
with the
whole
feelings.
person.
Okay.
Okay. What's this one?
Okay. You're a supervisor at a small mental health agency that makes a referral to you for individual counseling. During the assessment, the client lets you know they have been a friend and acquaintance of your supervisor for more than 15 years. After you had completed your fourth session with this client, your supervisor asked you to see the client's file since she was the person who made the referral to you. Your best response is, girl, bye. It's like,
I don't think that's an answer, but I like that.
trying to mess
If
with my
it
points.
was the right in choice, we'd be fine. But I don't see that as
uh, so you're at this agency, you're providing individual counseling. And during the session, your client lets you know that she's friends with your supervisor for more than 15 years. And then on the fourth session, with the client, your supervisor asks to see the client's file. And since she's the person who referred her to you. And your best response is to give your supervisor the client's file, give your supervisor the file base sheet only, refuse to provide the file until the client signs a release of information to terminate services with the client and refer to another agency. I would take out D. Refuse to provide to the client with information. Uh, I will also I will give the supervisor the client's file. I would take out A. And I will also take out B.
What's my answer?
C.
Very good. I'm not signing anything. I don't care how close you are. I don't care what happens. I just want to make sure that I've got permission to share any information. Absolutely. Absolutely. Last one, guys. This could be a CBT or I'm sorry, this could be a LM or an LC question. Who wants it?
You have a social work intern in your office, and she has been reading about different therapies. She is slightly confused about about client-centered therapy and the work of Carl Rogers. She is unsure how a client-centered therapist would approach the concept of client diagnoses. You know the best answer is.
Sam, my question. What is it asking me?
It's asking you, it's telling you about an intern who is learning about the client-centered approach, and she's unsure how she would apply that to diagnosing clients, and they want to
Mhm.
know what the best answer is. A, a task shared equally by the therapist and client. B, probably unnecessary and probably detrimental. C, the initial step in therapy. D, a process ongoing throughout therapy. She's unsure how client-centered therapists would approach the concept of client diagnosis. Probably unnecessary. So, probably unnecessary and possibly detrimental. The initial step in therapy. Can I get rid of C?
Sure.
Alright, a process.
It's asking me about intervention, not about assessment.
Uh-huh. A process ongoing throughout therapy. Probably, so can I get rid of B?
Nope.
No? Okay. A
Tell
test,
me about Carl Rogers. What did he say?
he don't say anything. The client is the expert.
Okay. So would I not take out A first? There's no task.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay.
Okay.
Between
My
B and
answer would be B.
B. And,
He
oh,
didn't
okay. So can I
diagnose.
say, okay.
I think you missed the question. It's about diagnosis. Carl Rogers didn't diagnose. He
Okay.
said if I diagnose you, it makes you sound crazy. That's your pathology. Carl Rogers did not diagnose.
Okay.
He's the opposite of Freud. Freud came in and said, I'm the expert, I know everything. Carl Rogers said, no, 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 the client is the expert, and he didn't diagnose. Is there any proof that Carl Rogers works?
No.
Hail to the nah, okay? What we know is CBT is the only evidence-based practice that we like. Do you all use Carl Rogers every day, especially when you're trying to establish rapport with your client?
Yes.
You do, you do, you do. You use it all the time. And it's great to use it, but I can't use it all the time. I can't just smile and nod no matter what my client says. That's not how therapy works. Okay, so Carl Rogers did not diagnose. He didn't think that at all. And I don't think it's on your test, but if you ever see reality therapy, he did not diagnose either. Reality therapy said, you did it, you suck it up, you own it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Can I ask
okay,
you a
doctor.
question about referent power?
You can.
Wait, this is not on the test. This is just something that came in my head. So would you consider Jesus to have referent power?
Oh, Lord. Really?
Come on, Doc.
You
That's how
got to
my
go to
mind works.
church with me?
It's
God,
Sunday. It's Sunday, Doc.
I can't go there. I cannot go there. I'm so sorry. I cannot go there.
Can't go there. Okay.
No, I can't. That's like too deep. Can somebody else? I'm not the only Christian in the room. Can somebody else answer that?
I would say yes, but
Thank you.
but that'll be another discussion for another time.
Yeah, it's a deep discussion, but that's what my
Yeah.
mind went to
Your
when I read it.
the answer is yes. He will
Okay.
be a
No,
referring
I think it
power.
depends on your belief system.
Well, if you're a Christian, yeah, if you're a Christian.
If whatever
If you're
your
a
belief
Christian.
system, if you believe that Jesus is the only way to get to God, then yes. But if
Mhm.
you're Catholic or Jewish, you don't believe in Jesus. So
Hmm.
I just think that just depends on like, oh,
Your your
girl,
faith.
girl, you trying to get me kicked off YouTube?
I'm
Is that
not.
what your goal?
Don't take Doc away. No, I'm not. Just keep. That's how my mind works. I'm
Oh, did,
curious.
did your ADD medicine wear off today?
I ain't took none. I don't take it no more.
Uh,
Doc.
that shows. Okay. When you pass the test and you want to book me for some consultation sessions that I charge $250 an hour, feel
Okay.
free.
All
We can
right.
discuss that all day, every day.
Okay, Doc.
But that was just not the test, not the test. Woo.
Okay.
Am I stop recording? Am I stop recording? Let me stop recording.